Hello Wargamers, it's me Slick from Tabletop Banter, and today I am going to do the third video for the Painting for Beginners tutorial series. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I will leave links in the description below for both of those. If you're joining at this point, I would highly recommend going back to catch up on the things you've missed, unless this is a video that you just wanted to learn this particular technique for. So step 3 in the painting guide from my technique is the wash part. So a lot of people tend to do the steps 2 and 3 that I've done the other way around. So they wash first, then highlight. But personally, I prefer to highlight then wash, because I think if you highlight afterwards, it just stands out too much and looks too fake, too painted. I mean, obviously you want to paint your miniatures, but you want them to look realistic. And so for me, that's best achieved highlighting then washed. So it's a pretty standard technique that's used quite a lot. They call it liquid talent. That's quite a common saying for it because it does make such a difference. So I'm going to take you through my wash system, if you like, and applying it to the miniatures, and then I'll show you the pictures afterwards and you'll see how much of a difference this step makes. I really can't say how much of a difference it does make until you see it, really. So you will remember from last time we have highlighted this orc boy. He's nice and neatly painted, which was step 1. He's been highlighted, which was step 2, and now it's time for step 3. Now for this, I've made my own wash. You can get the black wash from the Games Workshop or similar paint companies. You could, for me, seems a bit much. I filled up the bottom of this tub about that far, I suppose, maybe 6 ml with paint, and the rest with water. And then give it a good shake, and then when you see there's no paint left in the bottom of the thing, you know it's done. And for me, that's worked brilliantly. I will be doing it again and again because it saves money on buying the paint. A wash, why would I spend money on water, essentially? So I made my own, and I've only done black so far, but I will be, hopefully, once I've got a few more spare paint pots, making a few more washes for the flesh, the human flesh, because I will go into that after I've done this orc boy, where there are a couple more steps. So, applying a wash, quite simple really. You need a big paintbrush. Now I'm using my base coat brush, which is a bit too small. I broke my big brush in half a few days ago, and so this is all I've got left. I might go out and pick up another one in a few days' time, and I would recommend using something probably twice as thick as this because you really want to get it on the whole model. So I'm just going to move my camera down and let's get started. So here we have it, the little workstation with my orc boy ready to be washed and my wash in my hand here. So I'm just going to give it a shake because it's always best to make sure there's no paint settling on the bottom. Now with this, the technique is very different from before. It is a case of slapping it on. It seems unneat, but once you realise how easy it is just to slap it all on and it looks great, you won't go back. This is the one step that I really, really like. So, quite simple really. I just make sure that my paintbrush is alright, ready for painting, and then you put lots on, and you just start wherever, you just slap it on. So I'll start in the face here, just smear it around, and when you see there's a bit too much in certain areas, you just keep going around. And then when your paintbrush is empty, you pick bits, you just mop up the extra from the face, and you just say, oh, okay, I'll use it for this part of the body. And you just keep going around the model, washing every single part. Be liberal. It's much easier just to take bits off with a drier brush, like I do when I say, oh look, there's too much in this crease here. Like right here, there's too much in this crease right here. So, soak it up with the paintbrush, reapply it somewhere else. You're recycling the paint you're using, which means you don't waste too much mopping it out with a tissue or anything. You just get in there with the paintbrush and say there's too much in this shoulder arm here, shoulder part, sorry. So you just respread it round, and then you go round, use a bit from the lid if you can, the whole body in a similar fashion. Don't leave any bit out. It's always easier to clear it up. This is the one where it's easier to take it off than it is to put it on. Whereas with highlighting, it was easier to put too much on, and that's a bad thing. With this one, if you put too much on, fine, just take it off with a dry brush. So get nice and in there. What it does really is it soaks into the cracks in the model, all the little detail parts like creases in trousers, and in this orc's case is muscles, and it just provides another layer of texture. The one thing I will say is it doesn't quite look right to begin with on flat surface, like big flat surfaces like here on this axe or chopper, as I should say. And it takes a little while for it to look good in those circumstances, but that's okay. I think I need a bit more on the face. As you go around, it will start to dry. Now, it doesn't dry very quickly. This is the one that just takes a little bit longer to dry. Now, dry brushing dries instantly. Washes, as you'd expect, it's wetter, take longer to dry, but that's okay. Got nothing but time when it comes to models. Patience is one of the best skills I've learned when it came to painting models. Better than any technique I'm teaching you now is patience. Because if you have patience, then you are quite happy to say, oh, well, I'll take my time. And then you get better models out of it, really. I used to be impatient and they look rubbish. Now I'm patient and they're better. I won't say they're great, but they're certainly better. And once you go around, you start to notice bits you might have missed. So just make sure you get every single bit of detail. You don't want to leave any areas unwashed because it makes the biggest difference. Therefore, you're really going to want it everywhere if it can be done like that. Get it nice and in on the feet as well. Make sure that's all done. And then just have a quick look yourself. Have a look around the model. Say, is there somewhere I got too much? Is there somewhere I haven't got enough? And I think the front of the axe is lacking. So stick a bit on there. Like I said, it doesn't always look quite right on flat surfaces, but once it's dried, it will look okay. Should probably get a bit more on this helmet. Give it a little blow, because I often find that it just then runs out of the areas where it'd be too much. And a little shake, because then it finds those natural craters in the model. And you can always just dry your brush on a bit of tissue, and where you say, oh, okay, I've got way too much up here by the eyes. Oh, now I've taken it all too much away, so that's alright, you just go back over it. Ah, there we go, perfect. And yeah, just go over the model, make sure everything's okay. Be patient with it to dry. Don't go and put any more stuff on it until it is completely dry. We'll just adapt that again a little bit, because I fear that might be too much. Okay, there we go. And you should end up with a really nice detailed model. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry for a bit. Just move you back up. Take a couple of pictures and show you, and then you'll see the effect of the wash is so great. I cannot just say how much better it is now. So yeah, I'll just take some pictures and then we'll get back to looking at the next model. Right, so now that we've had a good look at the washing on the Orc, it's time to move on to our Space Marine Tactical Sergeant. So here he is again, just a reminder. That's him after his highlighting and his neat step, so we're on to step 3 with him. It'd be interesting how this turns out. I've never put so many purity seals on a single model. I quite like it, it's kind of grown on me. I used to really hate them, I used to think, oh, I've got to paint it. But now I'm really enjoying my painting because I've learnt these 4 steps, funnily enough. I'm like, yeah, let's put them on. I want to make it look good. You know, I want all the extra bits on it. So, step 1 with this is the same as before. I'll just move you down so you can get a closer look. So here it is, the little workstation. Got my tissue just in case, and here it is. Here's my wash. So, same again. Give it a little shake. Get out your thicker paintbrush, and just as before, apply a nice liberal coat, making sure you really get everywhere on the model. You don't want to miss anywhere, it doesn't look right. So put plenty on the paintbrush and just slap it on. And then we go around. I mean, this is the first technique that I learnt when it came to extra techniques apart from just make it neat. When I started collecting when I was younger, my painting skills were, I think horrendous would be a polite way of putting it, to be quite honest. I could hardly hold a paintbrush and keep it all in a neat place. My models looked terrible, it looked like I rushed them. And now I would say that's changed quite a lot. This technique is the first one I learned, like I said, and it's really helped in just providing me with models that I don't mind showing other people. Before it was like, oh no, what if anyone sees? Like, I just think I've wasted my money on all these models, and what a terrible job I've done painting them. I actually almost felt ashamed to go outside with my previous models. And now it's like, hey, everyone, look at this. I mean, I'm making YouTube videos on how to paint. I mean, I didn't think I'd be doing that. Now, I'm not saying how to paint as such, actually. I'm more saying, here's my method. Let me know if you like it. I should make that quite clear. I mean, there are lots of styles, and that's a really big thing. The thing I like most about painting, actually, is you can all have your own style. And you're currently, well, if you're sat here watching it, I suppose you are, learning about mine. So just get onto this backpack now. Now this is the one which I think the backpack always looks amazing after a wash and rubbish before. I think the wash just completely transforms it from something that kind of looks cumbersome to something that I wish you was on the front, because then you'd see it more. I often find that washes do work best if you follow step one, which is keeping it simple. I think that it doesn't look as good if you've gone a bit complicated. I think if you can keep it simple, it adds so much more to it. Now, I'm not saying don't go crazy. I'm saying don't go crazy. I'm saying don't hold back. If you think the reason you're going to enjoy painting your models is because they're just different and they've got something wacky about them and their paint scheme is something like no one's ever seen before, then don't let me be the reason you don't paint like that. That's one thing I will say. You've got to find your own medium, your own style. Even if it is using my techniques, which is, I would be, you know, if you do, let me know. If you decide to change the way you paint because of what I've showed you, please comment. Let me know. I would really appreciate it. And if you think that I should change the way I paint, as such, and you can help me out, that'd be great as well. But yeah, I think it is important that everyone has their own style. And this is much quicker to apply for me than the Orc Boy, because I've painted so many more Space Marines than I have Orcs. That's just because of the way I collected them. And I obviously got these all first and really got back into it through Space Marines, which is a bit, I don't know, I suppose people might say that's a bit boring, you know, Space Marines, seen it all before. But I think every single race has the chance to be interesting if you give it the chance to be interesting. Like I said, I've made my own chapter, so that for me made it interesting. It might not for everyone, but it's given me a chance to explore the painting I want to explore. So that's about it, to be honest. Much quicker than the Orc. I'm just going to move the camera up. There we go, and now you can have a look at it. Got to be gentle, because obviously it does take a long time to dry, so try not to touch the model anywhere but the base. So now, I don't know how clear that is on this camera, but the detail, especially the things I can see right now, and I am going to take a few pictures so you can have a closer look, is so much more in depth. You just see every crease, and it looks so much more real. So yeah, I'm just going to pause the camera for a bit, take a few pictures. You'll then see those with the before and after, like I did in the previous video. And after that, once it's dried, I will show you how to change his face to make it more flesh-like. Alright, so now that you've seen the initial washing step, it's time to introduce the specific washing step to flesh. Now this is obviously why I included the Tactical Marine Sergeant, so I could show you the extra steps you take just to make flesh that little bit more real. Now it is only one extra step, because really it looks quite good now with the bone dry brush, with the black wash, but this just adds another tone, another skin tone, just to give it a little extra. So, just going to quickly get my mat back, and then I'm going to take you through the steps to turn this Tactical Marine Sergeant into a nearly finished model. So first of all, I'm just going to move my camera down and then we can get started. So here we are. This is an empty yogurt pot which I use for making unique washes. It's covered in PVA glue. Long story behind that one. So what I'm going to do here is take the flesh from this to the next level. Now to do this, I use Xerxes Purple. I think it's Xerxes. Do you know what? I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's the purple paint that begins with an X. And I'm just going to turn it into a wash of my own. So that's quite simple, really. What you do is you open it up, and then you put a little bit of paint, so just take a paintbrush full and just blob it in the bottom, like that. Now, oh, there's a bit of water running here, so just ignore that and imagine it's a regular blob. Get a bit of water from your wash pot thing and just put one blob of water with it, and then you'll mix it around and you'll notice it becomes really thin, just like that, okay? And then you take this and quite simply apply it to the head. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh, but I don't have a purple head. No, you don't. And if you do, you should probably see a doctor. But it just adds another dimension. Now, the difference in this step is you put a lot on, so his head is almost all purple, and then you grab a tissue, and you just go, oh, tidy it up, and you just blotch it out with the purple, so you take it away from all the parts where there's quite clearly a lot of purple, which can be a lot of the head. Now, don't wipe it as such, because otherwise you do what I just did, which is take too much off. You just scrunch up the end and blotch it away. And in theory, the tissue paper should really soak it up. Especially if it's clean tissue paper. Mine is slightly dirty, so it's taking a little bit longer to get round. But yeah, just double check, make sure you've got all the purple you can off of his head. And that is the final step. Now you might be thinking, was that it? Yes, is the simple answer. Yes, it is it. I will just move the camera up. And I know this is a much shorter step than the rest, which is probably quite good, because I know the last video was a bit long. And here you have it, the finished flesh. Now, I know it's not clear here, but you will notice in other pictures that I'm about to take that there's just another tone. It takes off that really obvious paint job and makes it just a little extra textured. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sign off. So this has been me, Slick, from Tabletop Banter. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Twitter as well for extra updates. And please leave a comment below if you think there's any way I can improve what I've done on my model. You know, any way I can make my painting better, because I'm always willing to listen. If there's anything you do different, or if you have any questions at all on anything I've covered, or anything really, I'm happy to help. So yeah, it's been me, Slick. Have fun.